You might know anti-sex trafficking activist ELIZA BLEU from her interviews with popular right-wing figures, including Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Dr. Drew Pinsky, Michael Malice. You also might know BLEU through her interactions with Elon Musk and their apparent collaboration in the Twitter CEO's push to remove child pornography and other illicit content from the platform. However, both BLEU and Musk have recently found themselves in the middle of a censorship controversy involving embarrassing photos of BLEU's past, which some people say discredit her alleged history as a sex abuse survivor. Multiple accounts who posted these photographs have been temporarily suspended from the site, calling into question about Musk's claims to favor free speech on the platform.
Now, two former friends of ELIZA BLEU claim that she is exaggerating her experiences for attention and clout, telling the Daily Beast, quote, "It's making a lot of her old friends around here really angry," said Carly Wenzel, who claims to have known BLEU for 2 decades, adding that she's completely lying. Robbie, you've been keeping up with this a lot more than I have. Help me understand what's going on here.
So there's a lot going on, and I would not just kind of without any pushback except reporting from the Daily Beast. I've had a lot of issues with their reporting in the past, but here they're talking about things I have observed as well in the Twitter sphere. There's a lot of frustration with this person right now, ELIZA BLEU, including from what I would describe as sympathetic or former allies. So she portrays herself as an activist against sex trafficking and pedophilia, and she has claimed that she has had her own mysterious past of being sex trafficked, being forced to perform sexual abuse, that kind of thing. And she somehow really did get Elon Musk's attention. She's been interviewed on a number of right of center places, and she tweets a lot, and she drew Elon's attention and was, I think, very informally, like where you can see it on Twitter, advising him on what accounts are bad, confront sex trafficking on the platform, confront pedophilia on the platform. Mm-hmm. I think she was very instrumental in calling his attention to Yoel Roth, that former Twitter content moderator who had written something that was kind of provocative in the past about hookup apps or gay hookup apps and the ages of the people on it. And she I think drew attention to the fact that a lot of people might have had issues with that. I don't like how that was characterized, and I think it was kind of unfair to him, but she was involved in all that. Fast forward to now, some independent accounts have drawn attention to her, including Michael Tracy, who's an independent journalist whose work is often quite good, as well as Katie Herzog, co-host of this Blocked and Reported podcast with Jesse Singal. I cite them all the time. They're really good, objective reporters. They're very thorough. Look, there are a lot of questions about whether she was actually a victim of sexual trafficking.
Why is it? I'm struggling to understand why this is relevant and why, obviously anybody misrepresenting their past, okay, but her being an advocate against, child pornography, pedophilia, whatever, sex trafficking, seems.
I think she's done a lot of clout chasing on the basis of I'm a victim, and then people were finding and circulating videos of her that were very softcore, inappropriate kind of skimpy outfits
and which
type
way
thing.
Are those? How's that supposed to cut?
That she was, I believe, I'm being very careful with my words. I believe the accusation is that she was not sex trafficked. She was involved in kind of cam type stuff, performing type stuff. It was not. She was not abducted, and she was not imprisoned or held against her will or anything.
Are those mutually exclusive? I mean, isn't the whole conversation around Andrew Tate is that he's being accused of inducing women to perform on camera so that he can profit off of their products?
So she has friends of hers from that time period that she claims she was a sex trafficking victim are interviewed in that Daily Beast piece saying she was never a victim of sex trafficking. And she was involved in some sketchy things. And we
credit what those friends say. We're not worried at all about I mean, I guess you are saying that you're worried. You're not taking this at face value. There could be some conflict of interest there, an interest in them being less famous or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just such an odd thing.
She's also trying to suppress. So she has gotten, and this is the censorship aspect. So people asking questions about this, sharing some of those photos, so she's saying those photos were taken of her non-consensually, but there's no evidence of that. It seems pretty clear like that was just her thing previously. And she has gotten Elon to ban accounts calling attention to that, saying, well, wait a minute, you said this is not consensual, but this was posted on YouTube for a long time under a clear, like it couldn't have been posted if it was not consensual. And she's getting those people banned.
What do we know about her claims of sex trafficking? What has she specifically said happened to her?
So she didn't say specifically what happened to her.
Okay, so because I'm reading an article, I was just trying to Google it real quick, and this one article says, Eliza was sex trafficked for 9 years total before gaining the courage to attempt to escape one night from her apartment. But it doesn't go into any detail. So has she in fact said, I was sex trafficked, I was, held hostage in this building for this number of time by these people, and has she described it in any way, or has she alluded to being kind of a victim of sexual exploitation? And maybe like not corrected the public when they read more into it?
I think it's more the latter, yes.
Oh gosh, the whole thing is so wishy-washy.
Yeah, but and the reason we're talking about it, this is someone who has Elon Musk's ear and who has been able to get, at her personal discretion, accounts banned, including for scrutinizing her. She's had a lot of input on how Twitter has handled various issues. She has his attention.
So this is.
I don't think she's used her power and influence for good, and I don't think she's honest about what happened in her background.
Right. So this is kind of being framed as a critique of ELIZA BLEU, but it's irrelevant. It's really a critique of this pattern of behavior from Elon Musk of following random acquaintances from Twitter and using their advice to design Twitter policy as opposed to something that's more objective and substantive.
Yeah, so right now a lot of people who like Elon Musk, who are on board with new Twitter, are calling her out and trying to get him to realize that this was not a good faith person. This is in fact a grifter. Which I think is very likely to be the case.
Yeah.
She has not acquitted herself well in this entire debate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can make moral judgments about a person on Twitter misrepresenting themselves, but it does seem to me to be the onus is on the person who would design a platform policy based on somebody's representation on an app. Is she who she says she is? Do we know like her real name? Is she kind of a persona? Is she like a real?
It's a persona.
A real person.
It's not her real name. No.
I mean, this is so thorny. I mean, the kinds of things. I don't even know what to, I mean, it's not that I'm trying to let her off the hook for her misrepresentation, but it's like we wouldn't even care about any of this if it weren't for the fact that one of the most powerful, richest men in the world is using her as a sounding board for designing
I would
policy.
care a little, as I've said, and I've brought my colleague at Reason, Elizabeth Nolan Brown, on to talk about sex trafficking and how that term has really been weaponized by law enforcement in all sorts of very bad ways, and people who scaremonger about the prevalence of sex trafficking, especially in the U.S. context, are often using junk statistics and are really just marshaling more law enforcement against consensual prostitution or things of that nature. They're never actually arresting sex traffickers. People have this idea that white vans drive around abducting people and chaining them and making them perform sex for money, and that in all of these stings that law enforcement does, always inevitably they end up arresting women, not the dudes, case, but the women. But she's giving voice to that kind of mindset.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, do you have a sense of why? Is it just that fans of Elon Musk are worried about how her reputational damage is going to negatively affect Elon Musk's reputational damage? But she was a popular person before this, right? She wouldn't have access to go on Tim Pool and do all of these other kinds of things.
Yeah, I think people just caught on to her grift.
And it's conservatives that have been interested in her and platforming her.
Yeah, she's been. I mean, depends how you describe these. Tim Pool, Michael Malice. She may or may not have been on Rogan. I can't quite remember. I think so. I don't know for sure.
It's fascinating to me.
Let me find that out while I have my
this ideological commitment to, or this investment in this idea of hunting out pedophiles and groomers, and how this has become I
can't tell whether she's
on the
actually
right.
She was not on Joe Rogan. It's not. Again, I think there is a reason to talk about her, because it's not just to call out she's not some random person. She's someone who had Elon Musk's ear on this issue, and there are very legitimate questions about her background that I think it's good that people in this orbit of conservative, or whatever you want to describe them, online people, are calling out a bad actor in their midst. I think that's to be commended, actually. Someone who's having a policy impact.
And has Musk responded yet? Because he's very responsive on Twitter.
I don't know.
I saw him, kind of jump on and respond to this claim that if you lock your account, the algorithm will favor you again. He's notably responsive. So perhaps there's an interesting aspect of this if he's taken a longer time to kind of push back against the critiques that have been going on here. So I'm sure you'll keep us updated, Robbie.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll have more Rising right after this.